right, Pakistan PM Imran Khan gone after losing no confidence vote. So here's another coup. Coup me, daddy. Coup me, CIA daddy.
It was after midnight in Islamabad when members of parliament voted on the motion of no confidence. After a nearly 14-hour standoff between Imran Khan's ruling party and the opposition.
174 members have recorded their votes in favor of the resolution. Consequently, the resolution for vote of no confidence against Mr. Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, has been passed by a majority of the total membership of the National Assembly.
Khan is the first Prime Minister in Pakistan to be ousted by a no-confidence vote. Opposition leader Shehbaz Sharif, who's likely to succeed him, said Pakistan had been freed from a crisis.
A new dawn has started. A new day is coming. Allah has answered the prayers of millions of Pakistani mothers, sisters, daughters, elders, and youth.
Khan says he won't accept an opposition government and blames the US for leading a conspiracy to remove him. He's called on his supporters to hold nationwide rallies.
Imran Khan has been removed through a foreign conspiracy. God willing, we will fight back to make him Prime Minister again. We don't want these thieves.
Khan's removal is the culmination of months of political turmoil and a week-long constitutional crisis. The opposition put forward a no-confidence motion to Parliament last Sunday. But the Deputy Speaker blocked the motion, saying it was unconstitutional and involved foreign interference. On Khan's advice, Pakistan's president dissolved Parliament, but the Supreme Court ruled that was illegal.
While Imran has lost the battle in the Parliament, he still has a large following in the field, especially among the young. And they are fairly committed. So a lot will depend how this group under Imran Khan is going to react or interact with the new government, because overnight the new government will not be able to solve the problems of the economy, the relationship with the military.
The US State Department has denied any involvement in Pakistan's internal politics. Parliament will meet on Monday to appoint a new Prime Minister. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
I saw you. Okay, pulling up Benjamin Norton here. Benjamin Norton. The U.S.-backed soft coup against Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan succeeded. Washington helped organize a campaign pressuring opposition lawmakers to oust Khan with a no-confidence vote. Very similar to a U.S.-backed soft coup in Brazil in 2016. And, of course, a little more context there is that we're hoping that that will be resolved in a certain way and in this year, as there's going to be another vote in Brazil. I believe it's October the 2nd. We're hoping Lula will get the vote. It's looking pretty good, right? Let me think about circling back to that link and see what else is here in the thread. Benjamin saying this is important analysis from a brilliant Indian geopolitical analyst and former diplomat. Regime change pulls Pakistan back into U.S. orbit. Regime change is very much the U.S.'s foreign policy at this moment. And it has been for a while, for decades. This is what they've done. They've done regime change. They're willing to let millions die, and they have in the past. They just let them die in Indonesia, Jakarta, in Brazil, in the 50s, in Argentina, in Chile, Iran, Ukraine. This is what they do. This is what keeps the war machine going. This is how war profiteers make their money, is by having constant war, by just dredging up constant chaos everywhere and always citing and arming the wrong people in the world. Always arming them. That's why we're arming Nazis right now in Ukraine. That's why the Department of Defense fought very hard to make sure that happened, knowing quite well that there were no mechanisms to keep the weapons that they're sending out of the literal Nazis in Ukraine. There were unintended consequences when we did things like this previously, and I'm scared to think what kinds of consequences we're seeing now. And they're blaming it on other people. And, of course, the consequences that we've yet to see. What the fuck what could go wrong when you arm Nazis, when you arm far-right militias? Anyways, reeling back here to Pakistan. When you take a big look at it, it's regime change. Hey, consent van. Wow, thanks for the Prime subbing and the 9 months. We just had a stream baby. What do you want to call it? All right. So again, regime change pulls Pakistan back into U.S. orbit. This is what U.S. hegemony wants. This is what the U.S. hegemon makers want. They want more of this. They want, the Ukraines of the world in U.S. orbit. They want Pakistan in U.S. orbit. What does that mean? That means, allow it to be open to foreign multinational corporations exploiting the shit out of their resources and their labor. And cheap labor. This happens everywhere. Getting tired of it. If you're not tired of it, please just don't have an opinion on world politics. I don't know what to say. We're going to have to dig into these articles, I think. This article by a Pakistani scholar explains why the U.S. supported the soft coup against Prime Minister Imran Khan. He was very close to China. Significantly improved relations with Russia and Iran, distance from Saudi Arabia, and strongly supports Palestine. Based. All right. Which one do we start with? The first one? Is it the same article? Multipolarist, Pakistan's prime minister accuses, and then Pakistan warns off. This one's from 6 days ago. This one's from the 31st of March. More than a month. Okay, let me just peek around. All right, let's go down the rabbit hole, kids. This is what we do here. Pakistan. Yeah. Yeah, you love a Sunday morning dump. Thank you all for the support. It really does mean a lot. You're keeping the stream alive, and I like to make content. Okay. Okay. Okay, here's the link. Here's the thread. Here's the tweet thread, kids. There you go. For those of you keeping score at home. All right. Pakistan warns of foreign-backed regime change attempt to disrupt China-Russia alliance. Can you all pause and note how nice that typeface is? It's a nice typeface. Nice. It's by Junaid S. Ahmad. Again, I can't say that I know this author. Pakistan's opposition is trying to overthrow Prime Minister Imran Khan with a no-confidence motion. Again, this is written previously. This happened. This eventually did happen. Khan said the U.S. sent him a very threatening letter, and he has proof of foreign funding for a regime change operation aimed at reversing his independent foreign policy, like his alliance with China and Russia, and support for Palestine. Did we already say that? Is there an echo in the room? Is there an echo in the room? Si puede leer este artículo en español aquí. I don't know what I just said. To read this article in Spanish, click here. Is that what that says? While the world's attention is understandably focused on the crisis in Ukraine, Equally grave developments are taking place elsewhere. Perhaps the most consequential and underreported is a regime change operation underway in Pakistan. I really wish I read this back in March when this was written, March 31st. It does say that, yes. Nailed it! This March, opposition lawmakers in Pakistan's parliament launched a no-confidence motion aimed at overthrowing Prime Minister Imran Khan. Khan, who was democratically elected in 2018, warned that an effort's being made to topple the government with the help of foreign funds in our government. It specifically says we can. Oh, I failed. I failed.
We do it because it's right.
That's not the button.
They fail.
There it is. Our people, that's actually funny. He says we're doing it because it's right, because he's talking about regime change.
What the is Twitch?
No, not that button.
We do it because it's right.
That button. He's talking about regime change in that quote. That's really funny. I did that on accident. Imran Khan says our people are being used, most unknowingly, but some knowingly are using this money against us. Hey, guys. Khan said at a rally on March 27th, he said that government had proof of these payments. What's up, Short King Bren? What's up, Short King? What up, Bren? Hey! 8 months!
Just got back from the dispensary.
You get something good for me? I'll smoke anything, like, you know, sativas, indicas, hybrids. Have you ever had Landrace? I don't think I've ever had that. I've heard it's interesting. I want to try that. It's like its own genus of weed. What am I trying to say? Speaking of which, do y'all like to smoke weed?
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.
All right. So here's the thing. I could keep reading this, but I'm busy. I need to roll my joint. So I'm going to have them read it for me. Is it going to work? Damn it, it's not working. All right, I think I'm ready to continue here. Ready to continue. I'm going to have...
Khan argued that these external interests seek to reverse his independent foreign policy. He recalled his predecessor Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, a Pakistani prime minister who was overthrown in a US-backed coup in 1977, then executed following a show trial. Bhutto was punished when he tried to bring in a free foreign policy to the country, Khan declared. Khan specifically singled out the United States for meddling to try to remove him from power. He said he received a letter from Washington that threatened him for refusing to allow it to establish U.S. military bases in Pakistan. He cautioned that the opposition is collaborating with the United States and other foreign countries in its no-confidence motion against him.
Hear that? You hear that? That's how the United States has so many fucking bases all over the world. Hey, you don't let us put a base in your country? We'll coup you. We'll coup you. No, I don't think Khan executed his opposition. Is that what they're saying? Did I miss something?
These warnings came just over a month after Khan publicly criticized the U.S. government for cynically using Pakistan to advance Washington's interests. He also simultaneously praised China for always acting as a friend of Islamabad. Whenever the U.S. needed us, they established relations, and Pakistan became a frontline state against the Soviet Union, and then abandoned it and slapped sanctions on us, Khan complained. On the other hand, China is a friend which has always stood by Pakistan, he contrasted. The idea that a regime change plot could even be conceived of, let alone attempted, in a nuclear-armed country of more than 220 million may seem shocking and preposterous. On the surface, it strikes as incredulous considering that Islamabad is a major world capital, arguably the most powerful within the Muslim-majority world. Nevertheless, it is precisely these characteristics that make Pakistan so geopolitically important. The following is an analysis of the principal reasons for why hostile foreign elites have decided that Prime Minister Imran Khan must go.
All right. Your primary reasons. Number 1.
Se puede leer este artículo en español aquí. While the world's attention is understandably focused on the crisis in Ukraine, equally grave developments.
Number 1, Imran Khan opposes U.S. foreign policy.
Imran Khan was always dubbed a fanatic, i.e., overly critical of U.S. foreign policy.
A fanatic.
Khan strongly opposed Washington's so-called war on terror, and especially the war in Afghanistan, arguing that military solutions were both immoral and counterproductive. For this he was long disparagingly referred to as Taliban Khan. What bruised Washington's ego even more was that Khan turned out to be right. The American debacle in Afghanistan that ended with Kabul falling to the Taliban was perceived by the U.S. as a victory for Pakistan, and for Khan in particular. The U.S. is unwilling to forgive Khan for its own humiliation in Afghanistan, even though he had little to do with it.
So because the United States went to Afghanistan and lost a war to itself, they're going to be mad that Imran Khan was right for not supporting it in the first place? Dude, the United States is like the most insecure country in the world. You know what I mean? They're like, we want the world to celebrate our losses even. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, what? You won't even clap for us after we kill millions of people and then leave hundreds of thousands to starve? You're still not going to take our side? What's wrong with you people? We're going to coup you if you don't let us put a base on your soil. Number 2, Khan's anti-colonial voice on the international stage. All right. Read it.
Imran Khan's speech at the United Nations General Assembly in September 2019 was condemned as overly audacious. A Pakistani leader speaking so strongly on issues of global injustice made Western elites feel that he had become way too big for his shoes. At least 3 of the points that he emphasized in his remarks rubbed Western supremacists in the wrong way. First, Khan condemned powerful Western countries for enabling elites of the global South to plunder their own societies. Second, he highlighted Islamophobia as not a marginal affair, but as a dangerous phenomenon structuring our global order, and one that the world must take seriously. Relatedly, Khan scathingly criticized the insidious characterization of some Muslims as moderate and others as radical. These maliciously constructed distinctions have been essential to the political lexicon of the war on terror. Third, Khan spoke passionately about the Kashmiri struggle against Indian occupation in a way that few Pakistani, or any other, leaders have. His rhetorical performance seemed to be a page out of the anti-colonial playbook of the 1960s.
All right. Number 3, Khan deepened Pakistan's friendship with China.
Se puede leer este
Don't do that.
artículo en español aquí. While the perhaps most concerning to Western elites is how Imran Khan has strengthened Pakistan's decades-old relationship with China. Islamabad and Beijing are key partners in infrastructure projects aimed at connecting the region. They work together in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC) and the Belt and Road Initiative.
So this big, huge Chinese infrastructure project. Wow. Looks like the U.S. is trying to undermine that. Okay. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. All right, we're learning.
Khan received a very warm reception at the Beijing Olympics this February. It was a clear affirmation that Islamabad remains Beijing's close ally. In addition, President Xi Jinping and the Chinese leadership deemed Khan to be a Pakistani leader genuinely interested in cooperation for Pakistan's development, free from the enormous corruption and incompetence that characterize other political forces in the country. Whether this is true or not, Beijing believes it. And Xi has built a very close relationship with Khan personally. Furthermore, the fact that China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi attended the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) summit in Islamabad this March spoke volumes to China's embrace of Pakistan's leadership within the Muslim world.
Okay. More of the same. Xi and Khan have a relationship. It seems mutually beneficial for each country. Number 4, Khan improved Pakistan's ties with Russia. They're in the news lately, right?
The recent breakthrough in the relationship between Pakistan and Russia seems to have been the straw that ultimately broke the camel's back. Islamabad never had a close relationship with Moscow. On the contrary, Pakistan and the Soviet Union had been adversaries during the First Cold War, and retained a level of bitterness and distance. Moscow was always considered a strong ally of New Delhi. But on the sidelines of the Beijing Olympics, Russian President Putin extended an invitation to Prime Minister Khan. Seeing an opportunity to at least neutralize a regional powerhouse that has historically been Islamabad's foe, he agreed to the visit. However, as soon as Khan landed in Moscow, Putin launched his military assault against Ukraine. Khan was lambasted by Western capitals for not condemning Russia then, and this continued when he returned home.
Fascinating.
Khan received a strongly worded letter from European ambassadors demanding he denounce Moscow. The Prime Minister's response, "We are not your slaves," became quite popular not only in Pakistan but in many parts of the Muslim world and the global south. Khan noted that his requests that these same Western countries condemn India's behavior in Kashmir or Israel's crimes in Palestine routinely fell on deaf ears. Since then, Khan has consistently called for an end to the war in Ukraine and a diplomatic solution. At the OIC summit he hosted, Khan specifically called on China to help mediate between Russia and Ukraine. But the rapprochement with Russia appears to be where Khan crossed the Rubicon. As the global geopolitical battle lines are being rigidly drawn, Khan's Pakistan seems to increasingly be on the wrong side, according to Washington.
Wow. All right. So it wasn't just, arguably, it wasn't just the, hey, you won't let us put military bases on your land, but also, hey, you also didn't condemn Russia. We're going to coup you. Number 5, Khan's leadership in the Muslim world. 5.
The decision to host the 48th session of the Organization of Islamic Conference (OIC) in Islamabad this March crystallized Imran Khan's role as one of the most popular Muslim political leaders today. Khan seemed to be trying to mimic the performance and standing of Pakistan's Prime Minister in the 1970s, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who similarly hosted an OIC meeting in Lahore, with great fanfare and purpose. Whatever one's feelings about Islam and politics, there is no question that powerful external forces detest those Muslim actors that they cannot control. Washington has continued to work closely with brutal exclusivist forces such as Al-Qaeda in Syria and the House of Saud. It has also cultivated a class of moderate Muslims since 9/11 that have faithfully delivered an empire-friendly Islam. There is one factor that unites all of these disparate Muslim actors: their servility to Washington. Unfortunately, Khan does not fit these imperial categories, as much as both Western and Pakistani liberal elites would want to portray him as a fundamentalist. Khan's invocation of an Islamicate civilizational ethos that centers social justice, however incoherently articulated and scarcely implemented, also advanced a politics of countering Western supremacy.
What? Quinn Better, I'm not really sure what you're getting on about. I don't want you to waste your energy in chat, though. Number 6, Pakistan's gradual challenge to Saudi-led hegemony in the Muslim world. Like, I'm not sure exactly who your comments are directed towards.
Imran Khan has demonstrated a gradual tilt toward countries that, on the whole, represent a counterweight to Saudi-led hegemony throughout the Muslim world. The 2019 Kuala Lumpur summit called by Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad marked a milestone in this project. Nations such as Turkey, Iran, and Qatar participated. Everyone knew that this was a significant attempt to challenge traditional Saudi dominance and influence. Mahathir, who is very fond of Khan, invited Pakistan, and the participants understood how important the Pakistani Prime Minister's presence would be. Yet in the last minute, Islamabad pulled out. Days before the Kuala Lumpur summit, Khan was summoned to Riyadh, where he was warned in no uncertain terms, "You are not to go to Malaysia, and if you do, the House of Saud will begin the deportation of Pakistani laborers, halt all oil subsidies and supplies, rescind any and all loans, and so on." Khan was humiliated, but had to comply. He did not go to Kuala Lumpur.
I'm just not sure what you mean by the left. That'll help, I think. Also, you're sort of... Never mind. Number 7. Khan can't be simply controlled by the military. Let's try this. Are y'all learning anything? You getting anything out of this?
Imran Khan came to power with the blessing of the Pakistani army. The common-sense understanding was that he and the military have a snug relationship and are on the same page, to the point that Khan was for a time portrayed as a puppet of the military establishment. That has turned out not to be true. The military has always been in control of Pakistan's national security and foreign policy. To the extent both Khan and the generals viewed things the same, all was fine. However, Khan turned out to be no pushover. He has firmly asserted his right to be a part of any crucial national security issue, a right most previous civilian governments readily relinquished. When the Pakistani media now incessantly reiterates Khan has fallen out of favor with the military, it simply means that the cat is finally out of the bag. Khan is no lackey of the men in khaki. For Washington, this is a huge problem. Having militaries
Is that a
that set things
phrase?
straight when leaders of the global south become disobedient has been standard American operating procedure.
Yeah. Khan's unequivocal support for Palestinian liberation based. Here's another reason they're arguing.
One of the most important reasons why imperialist forces demand Imran Khan's ouster is the obvious, his consistent and unequivocal support for the Palestinian struggle. His position became all too well-known and controversial when an intense campaign of pressure and threats came Islamabad's way in 2020 and 2021. After several Gulf monarchies normalized relations with apartheid Israel, and the extent of their coziness was
Nailed
finally
it.
paraded publicly, what followed was painful arm-twisting of other Muslim countries to follow suit. For Tel Aviv, Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, and of course Washington, Islamabad was the real prize. For months, Pakistanis experienced an onslaught of information warfare geared to make the public more amenable to the idea of recognizing and accepting Israeli apartheid. Very quickly, it became obvious that not only the major national political parties but also significant sections of the military high command all conveyed a willingness to entertain the idea of normalization. The motive of Pakistan's ruling elite was obvious. Such a step, they believed, would get them into the good graces of Washington, and enable their private coffers to exponentially grow. But Prime Minister Khan did not give in.
No, he did not.
Prior to the hoopla around normalization, in May 2020, Khan vocally condemned Israel's war on Gaza. He did not mince his words, "We are with Palestine. We are with Gaza." At the OIC summit this March, even at the risk of embarrassing some of his guests, especially from the Gulf, Khan consistently spoke about the failure of Muslim countries to stop Israeli brutality against the Palestinians. There is no doubt that if Khan had avoided touching the Palestinian question, he would not be in so much trouble.
Tweeting back in 2017, 5 years ago, Trump-Modi statements removed fig leaf of morality and justice in U.S. foreign policy, which is now only based on arms sales and financial gains. Not the lie. By trying to lump indigenous Kashmiri freedom struggle as terrorism, Trump siding with oppressor India as U.S. supports oppressor in Palestine. Whoa. Whoa. Let's go. Criticisms of Imran Khan. Let it read. There's a lot here. All right, I'll finish. While the reasons enunciated above so eloquently by my bot, stop it. What's my bot's name today? Daniel. That's my name. It's convenient. Okay. While the reasons enunciated above by bot Daniel explain why antagonistic global elites desire regime change in Islamabad, for the sake of clarity, especially for sincere liberal progressive critics of Imran Khan, it's also worth acknowledging criticisms. Suffice to say, these are decidedly not reasons motivating this hybrid war on Pakistan. Number one, his patriarchal views. Number two, his poor governance. Three, mismanagement of economy. Reading on. Whether any of the above is true or not, and they certainly may be, it ought to be self-evident that these issues have never been the real motivations of global elites in their imperial interventions. From the time that Khan first took power, we have been subject to an eerie, familiar narrative. In the dirty war aimed at regime change in Syria, for years we've heard the same refrain. The Assad regime is falling any day now. We've been fed the same slogan for the past 3.5 years in Pakistan as well. The Imran Khan regime is just about to fall. It did, by the way. And since Khan's not moderated his views to be more palatable to the interests of Western capitals, the latter's low-intensity hybrid war has been increased to full throttle. The standard falsehoods recycled against all targets of regime change, including Latin American countries like Venezuela, now prevail in the narrative on Pakistan. Claims that Khan's guilty of increasingly authoritarian rule characterized by harsh repression of dissent and the media fit an all too well-trodden script. Yeah. It just so happens that the overwhelming majority of both the print and electronic media in Pakistan have been incessantly anti-Khan. The hybrid warfare being waged against Pakistan, including information warfare, psyops, and the engineering of something like a color revolution, in no way means that there is not genuine opposition to the current government. But in Pakistan, we saw a coordinated campaign emerge this March leading up to the opposition's no-confidence motion in the parliament. Virtually all of Pakistan's media, dominant sections of elite civil society, and the opposition leaders and their moles in Khan's political party, Pakistan's Tehreek Insaf, or PTI, all of a sudden united in full-scale blitzkrieg against Khan. That this came right at the moment when Western condemnations of the Prime Minister had reached their peak does not seem like a mere coincidence. As we witness geopolitical transformations of a world historical importance, the international fault lines in this interregnum are becoming more invisible. Dan, what does interregnum mean? I don't know. I don't know, man. A period when normal government suspended. Like when you got regime change. Like right now. Yeah. Pakistan's growing proximity to China, Russia, and the country's commitment to the Eurasian integration project has activated the wrath of American ruling elites. At this particularly precarious conjuncture, Washington views Islamabad as a, if not the, major Muslim capital that needs to be controlled and severely disciplined if an independent Khan-type leader arises. So, knowing now that they did the coup, is that like a W for, that's like a W for Washington, right? So it's an L for the world, W for Washington. Those are the same things. No? Yeah? I don't know. Let me know what you think, chat. Yeah. Don't forget North Korea. Always ready to step in as the villain. The turmoil afflicting Pakistan is the outcome of a well-coordinated strategy to discipline and punish Khan. The opposition demand for a no-confidence vote in the National Assembly reflects the amalgamation of domestic and foreign machinations. This vote will be a reflection of the balance of forces resulting either in a victory for Washington and its political quislings, or the retention of at least a quasi-sovereign Pakistan with Khan still in power. What did I just fucking say? Is there an echo in the room? The shenanigans of politicians and their maneuvering to be on the right side of political winds are the games of corrupt, power-hungry elites. None of this has anything to do with genuine grievances of Pakistanis and is largely a diversion from the real global power play inside the country. Hostile global elites are trying desperately to find a new Pakistani version of Juan Guaido. That's the Western minion chosen unilaterally by Washington to replace Nicolas Maduro as supposed interim president of Venezuela. Whether or not Khan survives, anyone, even vaguely familiar with global regime change operations, will see exactly what is going on. Yeah. It's like the same thing every time. But like what we're not seeing is like outright arming of like the far right. But maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention. Now that's the first article in this thread from Benjamin Norton. That was written at the end of March. Here's the newest one. Reading on. Whoops, I did a click-a-do. A click-a-whoops. Let me make some room for activities. All right. Pakistan warns of foreign-backed regime change attempt to disrupt China-Russia alliance. This is from... It's the same one I read. All right, and away we go. Pakistan's prime minister accuses U.S. diplomat of conspiracy to overthrow his elected government. This is from Multipolarista. Multipolarista. You ready, chat? Can we get some hype going? Let's go. Come on. Let's get some hype. I need some hype. I need some energy to keep this thing going here. Someone hit a button or something. Flex a barrel roll. Hey, YouTube, this is what you're missing when you don't watch the live stream. Yeah, you get to control the stream. If you're watching the not live stream, this is what you miss.
We'll do it live.
Yeah,
We'll
stuff
do it
like
live.
this.
Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Yeah, that's right. Get some hype. Thanks, Octo Squiddies. Thank you, Bossy French. Get some emotes going in chat. Let's fucking go. Class struggle, man. Welcome in. How are you? How you doing today? Where's my dance button?
Damn these electric sex bands.
That's right. That's right. Hold on, I got a button for this. I think I got a button for this moment. All the people.
Bing bong.
Yeah. Let's go. Hype it up.
This
Chill
is
hype.
the iDanSimpson Show.
Chill hype.
We do it because it's right.
I love the dialectic.
His testicles became swollen.
Base.
Yeah.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Please clap.
Who's this man? This man in the hat.
What you're missing?
I'm gonna ruin this.
You're a stupid baby down, not me.
DD Mega Doo-Doo. I'm sorry.
Damn it. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Exactly. You could trigger sound effects and lots of cool stuff. Here we go. Pakistan's prime minister accuses U.S. diplomat of conspiracy to overthrow his elected government. They do it all the time. I definitely suggest you read. No, that's it. Just read. Make sure you read. If you want suggestions, I'll give you a suggestion, but just make sure you read. Pakistan's prime minister accuses diplomat of conspiracy to overthrow his elected government. Accused top U.S. diplomat Donald Lu. Do you know who Donald Lu is? You know what Donald Lu looks like? I'm a visual guy. Personally. I'm a visual guy. This is what Donald Lu looks like. Don't read Facebook. That doesn't count as reading, yeah. This is Donald Lu, if that helps. That helps me for some reason. All right. Video of Lu testifying in the U.S. Senate confirms Washington's angry over Khan's growing relations with Russia. So this sort of confirms what we were reading from the first article. And this is Benjamin Norton, having written this 6 days ago. Pretty fresh stuff. We got Pakistan's Khan, elected leader. Here we go. All right. I've already read that bit. This March, opposition politicians in Pakistan tried to push a no-confidence motion through the National Assembly seeking to remove Khan from office. We know now that that has happened. We haven't... I don't know if there's been a more recent piece from Multipolarista. If there is, I'll check it out. So here we go. Khan, yep, democratically elected, 2018, said that the U.S. government was supporting these opposition lawmakers in their attempt to oust him. U.S. regime change, as we know, again, is very much central to U.S. foreign policy. They will fake it. They will act like it's not, but it's what they do, and they do it all the time, and they get away with it, and that's why they do it. You have to ask yourself why they do it. Why? Where's the button? It's supposed to play a sound effect. Why not? Anyways. Well, he says, I'm taking the name of the U.S., the conspiracy that's been hatched with the help of America to remove me, the Pakistani prime minister said in Urdu language comments, translated by the media. In a meeting with leaders of a political party, Pakistan Tehreek and Insaf, the PTI, Khan singled out Donald Lu. Donald Lu, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs. Is the CIA, is like the State Department creating a strong independent Islamist government in Pakistan to be a buffer up to Afghanistan? That's a working theory. I don't know. Can someone hold my hand through that? That seems to honestly make sense to me. I don't I'm not in the weeds in the details here, so I'm trying to pick this up and learn as I go. So let me know what y'all think, chat. We can hold each other's hands through this. According to the Prime Minister, this guy, Lou threatened Pakistan's ambassador to the U.S. Assad Majid, warning that there would be serious implications if Khan was not ousted. Yeah, what kind of coup do you want? I'm going to go back to, if I can find this really funny comment from Ross. I think this is where this belongs right here. Almost had it. I lost it. Where is it, Ross? What style of coup do you like? You want Brazil or Libya? Right? Ross, you're funny. I like you. Everyone give Ross a follow. You're going to find Ross at twitch.tv/RossPublica. If you're lucky. All right. Washington allegedly told Majid that U.S.-Pakistani relations could not improve if Khan remained in power. So they want to put a base in Pakistan. They want Pakistan to be U.S.-friendly. They want it to be anti-Russia. And they're really ticking off the State Department. So they're like, fine, we'll coup you. We'll do the coup. Yeah, Pakistan and Russia, as we learned, working together in the Belt and Road and the other thing. Okay. We're learning. Your brain's breaking along with this global maze of alliance. Yes. We're figuring it out, though. We're learning. Don't expect yourself to know everything. All right? It's not like you have an entire State Department working behind you to figure this out. You got to figure it out on your own. But we got each other. It's World War I again. So that means World War II. And we've already had that, so it's World War III? Just doing the math here. He did the math, everyone. He did the math. He, them did the math. Reading on. I'm getting distracted. I'm not learning if I get too distracted. Khan accused the U.S. Embassy of organizing Pakistani opposition lawmakers to vote for the no-confidence motion in the National Assembly. $20 says wherever the U.S. Embassy is in Pakistan, across the street or somewhere in the neighborhood, there's an apartment, and that's where the CIA guys live. Actually, excuse me, the CIA guys and gals. It's woke CIA. No, they don't identify NB people because they're assholes. In previous comments, Khan also said that Washington sent a letter threatening him for rejecting its attempts to create the military bases. We've mentioned this. Khan hinted that the soft coup attempt was aimed at reversing his independent foreign policy. Under Khan, Pakistan's deepened its alliances with China, greatly improved relations with Russia, and maintained staunch support of Palestine, as mentioned. Washington rejected these allegations, though Khan's comments are bolstered by testimony that Lou himself gave in a March 2nd hearing of the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on Near East, Southeast, and Central Asia and Counterterrorism. A video clip of Assistant Secretary of State Lou in the hearing went viral on Twitter, shows him admitting the U.S. government had pressured Pakistan to condemn Russia for its military intervention in Ukraine. We'll go there. This is huge. U.S. Undersecretary Donald Lou admits he approached Pakistani FO officials and asked Pakistan abstain to vote against Russian aggression against Ukraine. Sri Lanka also abstained from voting and facing financial crisis while regime change attempt in Pakistan.
Two other countries in your jurisdiction under South Asia, obviously you have the stands as well, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, that also voted to abstain from this vote. Can you talk briefly about your disappointment in those decisions and what efforts were made with respect to those countries?
I was on the phone at 6 o'clock last night speaking to the Sri Lankan ambassador here. My colleague in the Bureau was on the phone with the Indian DCM. We have worked very hard. I'm sorry, with the Pakistani DCM. to try to convince them to vote in favor of this resolution. It is disappointing how many countries have abstained. I would also look to how many countries.
Can I just ask,
favor.
Mr. Ambassador, did anybody in the administration pick up the phone and call the Pakistani foreign minister or the prime minister of Pakistan? And
no, as you know, our charge has met recently with the Pakistani foreign minister, but
on this topic, on this topic.
On votes in the UN,
on the Ukraine vote?
On Ukraine votes not specific to the UN General Assembly vote. But as you may know, Prime Minister Khan has recently visited Moscow, and so I think we're trying to figure out how to engage specifically with the Prime Minister following that decision.
Well, as you know, there was a meeting in Delhi with the Russians as well. The point is, we need a strong, concerted effort with respect to all of these countries, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and India. I understand that you made some efforts. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
You have it. There you have it. Khan's government refused to denounce Moscow, joining many other countries in the global south that have remained neutral in the NATO-Russia proxy war. Oh, there's the link. Okay, Lu's video testimony confirms that Washington's angry because of Islamabad's growing relations with Moscow. Imran Khan met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Have you ever heard of that guy? At the Beijing Olympics, the Pakistani leader subsequently took a trip to Moscow, February 24th, the beginning of the military campaign in Ukraine. Tricky timing. After his visit, Khan announced that Pakistan would be expanding economic ties with Russia, importing its wheat and gas while ignoring Western sanctions. Though the country is a close ally of China, Pakistan has for decades had a difficult relationship with Russia. Under Khan, Islamabad's tensions with Moscow have significantly softened. Pakistani scholar Junaid S. Ahmad published an article in Multipolarista, we just read it, along with my bot, Daniel, analyzing the numerous reasons why Washington would want to remove Imran Khan from power, including his growing alliance with China and Russia, his refusal to normalize relations with Israel, and his gradual move away from Saudi Arabia. Benjamin Norton tweeting. Khan says he has proof of foreign funding for a regime change op to reverse his independent foreign policy, especially his alliance with China and Russia. Op, of course, means operation. Oops. How did I get here? Okay. The Deputy Speaker of Pakistan's National Assembly, Qasim Suri, suspended the opposition's no-confidence motion, arguing that it was unconstitutional because it was part of a conspiracy supported by foreign powers. That means Khan has 90 days to hold snap elections. That didn't happen. They overturned that decision, and then they couped him. There are worries in Pakistan, though, that the soft coup attempt against Khan could escalate into an old-fashioned military coup. That didn't happen. They did a peaceful coup. Yay. Like what, right? Fuck, man. And that's how they get away with it. Oops. Okay. Pakistan's army is very powerful, notorious for overthrowing civilian leaders. An elected Pakistani prime minister has never completed a full term. Pakistan's military is also closely linked to the U.S. Uh-oh.
We are a fascist police state.
In concerning comments made in the middle of this controversy, Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff Qamar Javed Bajwa. Am I saying that okay? That's close, right?
This is not fine.
It's not fine. They praised the U.S. and Europe. Uh-oh.
Your face.
That's not good. Hey, fucking Stone, welcome in. You been here? I'm tripping. Breaking with the elected prime minister, he criticized Russia over its war in Ukraine. Sorry for my confusion. These remarks suggest Khan may have lost the support of top military leaders. Uh-oh. Yeah. Sort of, uh-oh. In the middle of this. When did they do this? April 2nd, 8 days ago. Uh-oh. Yeah. Uh-oh. All right, so this has not yet been updated on Multipolarista, and I cannot update you with a voice that I trust, at least to a degree. Let me see what I can find, if I can find something from them or not. You're confused. Okay, how can I help, Mike Boy? What are you confused about specifically? What are you confused about specifically? The U.S. wants Pakistan to be in the U.S.'s orbit, in the Western orbit. But in order to do that, they got to, like, give up a bunch of shit, right? They got to let the U.S. slap a military base on their land. The long-term implications? It's geopolitics, man. It's like, is Pakistan going to be in Western orbit or not? The significance of it all. Good question. Like, what does it mean now? What does this change? This possibly means that Pakistan's going to be more aligned with the U.S. Like they're going to be trading with the West, with Europe, and with the U.S. And in order to do that, maybe, I don't know. We might. Are we going to give them? Are we going to be giving them IMF loans, some shit like that? I don't know too much about the details, because I am not in the weeds of this geopolitical conflict. I am not. You're like watching me scrape the surface. So these are good questions, and I'm going to try to figure this out. I don't know. What do you think, chat? What is this, Russ? Those checks from the Department of Treasury cleared in the general's offshore accounts. Did I miss something? I don't know what you mean. Was that from the first article? Let me pause the recording here. You're implying Pakistani military's on the U.S. payroll. Well, that makes sense, right? That may be one of the reasons why Joe Brandon keeps asking for more money from Congress for the Department of Defense. These are the reasons why we can't have health care, Medicare for everybody. There are reasons for these things, right? We live in the most wealthy country in the history of the fucking world, and yet we can't get people their basic needs. We can't get their basic needs met. You got to start to ask yourself why that's the case. And there are reasons for that. Continue to ask why. You must continue to ask why. And you can't trust anybody else. You sort of got to trust yourself and be skeptical of yourself at the same time. Yeah. This U.S.-Russia-Ukraine war's flexing all the loose alliances. Yeah, it's revealing cracks. I've been saying that it's been like revealing cracks in like the leftist discourse on like Twitter and Twitch. That's just like me noticing like things that I interact with, you know what I mean? But this is truly revealing like cracks or you know, a space between different countries in terms of this global war. It's global class war, everybody. There is no war but class war. This is global class war. It's the West, generally speaking, versus the global South and Russia and China, right? This is what I've been learning for the past year. You know, I used to be U.S. politic brained, and that did not give me a full understanding of how the world was working. And then I started talking with Marxist-Leninists, and their analysis helped me understand what's going on. I don't even know what you mean. It's not even leftist. Yeah, the left is... It's not... Yeah. It's class war. It's not on the left.
Hey, guys.
It's class war on the working class. It's just that the left is pro-working class. Listen here, fat. Listen here. Do y'all like my sirens? I got them outside. Yeah, I'm not sure your point, Quinn Better. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to reply to it. Yeah, pretty much it's between right-wing states seeking control over resources. There are some exceptions, right? There are a few exceptions. And they're based and awesome, and we support them. Samda, missed your face. You don't get on around this time recently. That's all good. Watch my YouTube content. I know it's not the same. But good to see you. Love your face. Okay. Give me a moment to check and see if there's multipolarist content updating this story. Yeah, so there's nothing more recent in multipolarista, so that must be why Benjamin Norton is doing this thread here. And I think they spelled it out for us pretty good, similar to the U.S.-backed soft coup in Brazil. We haven't talked about that too much, but there you go. Any questions? Comments? I think we just learned a lot. I think we learned a lot. I think so. I think so. All right, that's the segment. We're making content. Like and subscribe.